definitely believe that all the systems which have come out of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and are the best we've done, which are not God's kingdom, will eventually begin to crumble and fall, and people will realize, look, this is our best solution, but it is not the solution. It is not the answer. It is not, God's best for us and all of that. And I do feel that those shakings, and you're seeing signs of it. And I believe that God can show us the signs so that we are ready for what is going to take place when it's going to take place. Now, I don't believe God wants chaos and anarchy and everything to just collapse. But I do feel that you get some signs, and I believe we should be asking God for the signs to say, what, let's get ready. Let's be aware. Like when Jesus warned them of what was coming to Jerusalem, he warned them to be ready to leave Jerusalem when they saw certain signs. And he gave them some general signs leading up to when this generation was going to end. Wars and rumors of wars and famines and all of these negative things. He said, look, these are signs, these things are going to happen in the world and whatever. So, be ready. But then he said, here's some specific sign. When you see this taking place, now you need to get out now. And they did. And all Christians left Jerusalem. They weren't stuck there in the siege of Jerusalem. They escaped because they listened to Jesus. They weren't looking for those signs 2,000 years later. They knew those signs were coming in that generation, and they were to be ready for them. And Jesus warned them very, very clearly of what to be ready for, and to be careful that they didn't sort of put their trust in what their possessions were, but to be willing to leave them all, because God's provision would be there for them. And I imagine, all those Christians who went to Pella in the hill country and escaped Jerusalem, they left all their possessions, their houses. Jesus said, look, if your cloak's on the roof, don't go up and get it, get out. It was a sort of imperative to do this quickly. And they did. And I think if we're going to see a financial collapse or other systems that are beginning to fail and people are beginning to, I guess, think these aren't working any longer for us, then what signs are there? And let's ask God to show us. And you said, look, I've asked God to show me some signs and to see what I resonate with as a sign or what's just something that happens. And the other week we had the outage of Microsoft things with an update of a security patch or something, which I think tended to be one rogue file or something, essentially wiped out the world's sort of capacity to use airlines and supermarkets and all sorts of things. And that was just one file. That wasn't like a cyber attack or deliberate. It was just one rogue file, which caused mayhem for a few days. And that was probably a week after I said to God, well, give me some insight into some signs to be looking out for. And when that happened, it was like, no, this is one of those signs. This is going to happen more and more. And then you get the instability in, okay, so there's a forecast in the US of not as much growth or something in the labor market, and all of a sudden the Far East stock market plunges, and then the Western markets start following suit. So why? Because they're all based on fear. They're all based on fear, and there's nothing good in all that. So I do feel that we should be open for God to give us indications of what to do, how to be ready, how to look at those things. And, cryptocurrency was one of the things some people were saying, oh, this is what you need to be investing in. It's not centrally controlled, blah, blah, blah. It's still electronic. If you can't access a computer or your operating system goes down because of some stupid file, then you aren't going to be able to access your cryptocurrency. And if you want to get it out, how can you get out something which doesn't really exist? It's intangible. It's not actually mined and there's a piece of metal or something you've got any asset to. So what are you going to do? Well, okay, well, I'm going to transfer it out into my other wallet or something that I can put into my bank. Well, what happens if you can't access your bank? It doesn't actually solve the problem. Now, we all work that system because we all live in a world where you need some form of being able to pay for things at the moment. So I'm not suggesting that we all just up and take all our money out and go and live in the wilderness or something. But I think we should be aware that there are signs that we should look out for. And if there's a time when we should take all our money out, you're not going to do that on the day something happens. You've got to be ready for God to say, when you see this happen, take your money out. And to get all of your money out of all the assets you might have, which are not tangible, but electronic, savings accounts or this type of account, usually you can't access them from a bank and go and take it out. You have to get ready. Or your pension pots that you might have a lot of money invested in pension pots, well, they were useless if you can't access it. So I think we should be already thinking now about what is it that will enable us to be ready if this system begins to shake and fall. And if God says, look, now is the time, you've got this time to get ready. And then what do we do with the money? If we should get all our money out into hard currency, then that's likely to devalue very quickly if the financial system is shaken. So what do we do with it? Well, we need to ask God. Again, what should we invest it in? Gold, silver, lithium, I don't know, hydrogen. What should we invest it in? Land? Something that is going to enable us to continue in the transition when things begin to become unstable into the place where we're beginning to live in a different grid of reference, where heaven is manifesting, where we don't need those systems. But in the interim, we've got to be ready for the transition. And I think God will show us if we're open to him, to seek him for it. Yeah. But as you say, staying at rest is key. We can't be panicked. If you enjoy these videos, would you please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe? It really does help. Thank you very much.